kings, we pound for pound. UFC thrills, stills, nights get loud. Big EQP, that's how we get down.
Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the GRP. Back at it again on a Sunday, ready to go with the end of the weekend and a recap of UFC Houston. A lot of mixed emotions on the entire event from everyone, it seems like. I understand if people didn't think it was the greatest card ever. I tend to agree with that notion, but the main card came through. I gotta say that. We'll obviously get into that. We're gonna go over the entire prelims and main card and anything else that might have happened that had to do with that event. But I feel like the main card came through enough to make it not a complete wash or a total bust. The way that event started was rough. It was rough, and it was tough to sit through, just because there wasn't a lot of action. There wasn't a whole lot of things, real big things going on. And yeah, I mean, when the event starts like that, you know that two things are gonna happen. You're either gonna hate the rest of the card as well, and it's gonna be one of those nights that was just probably worth skipping, or hey, thank you all is good for being here. I appreciate you. Thanks for jumping back in. You're either gonna wish that you would have just completely missed out on it and left it at that, or you're gonna hope that the main card comes through and makes up for some of it at least. But when you go into the main card with the feelings that most people had leaving those prelims, it doesn't make you feel very good. So then you start critiquing everything else that happened in that main card in the same fashion that you critiqued the prelims. And while sometimes that's not fair, I completely understand, because that's what happens with cards like this, and that's what happens when people just don't follow through. The fights just didn't happen in a way that was exciting. There was a lot of decisions, and while there was some decent fights through the decisions, it was just a rough card. I mean, we started the night with 4 decisions in a row, so that makes it tough. And then we get one submission finish, and then the rest of the prelims were decisions. So we had one finish in the prelims, and I mean, it was a good one. It was entertaining and interesting, at least. So yeah, that's what makes that at least tolerable in the middle there. But then you just get back to the same shit with the decisions, and it's not like the fights were that exciting throughout those decisions, so it makes it tough. Yo, what's up, Antoine? How was my show Sunday? Today is Sunday. You mean Thursday? Thursday was good. Today is Sunday, right? Jesus, am I lost on the day? You made me question myself there. No, it's Sunday. Yeah, so does DDP get skipped for the title now? I don't know, man. That's before we dive into the card, did you get to have fun this weekend? Yeah, I wasn't. I mean, I had a productive weekend. I wouldn't say it was necessarily fun for the most part, because I did a lot of stuff that I'd been slacking on. And yeah, just kind of needed to catch up on some things. So yeah, it wasn't like a crazy fun weekend, but we had a good weekend regardless. So yeah, hope your guys's went well too. Does DDP get skipped for the title now because of Strickland? I don't know, man. They're both former champs, right? Sure, Strickland hasn't fought Hamzat, so maybe because of the heat he put on that with the shit talking, which I do want to talk about, because damn, Sean Strickland just, I don't know, man. Sometimes I wish I could just get past it and not worry about it, but I didn't even catch that, Antoine. So that's the first I'm hearing of it. I don't it's cool. I'm glad. I'm glad. Larry Fitzgerald was a good player and a good dude from what I hear. So shit, I got no problem with that at all. I'm happy for him. Um, I don't hold a lot of stock in the players that play on the teams in Arizona just because I'm not fans of those teams specifically, but it's cool that they play for the teams that are here in my state. I more root for guys that are actually, I guess, from this state. But I just don't follow football and basketball that much. So sometimes I hear things from you guys that I didn't even know, like Fitzgerald making the Hall of Fame, because my social media consists of almost 100% MMA and then a little bit of other stuff. But Luis Gonzalez, man. Yeah, that's true. Gonzo. Sorry, I was hearing something. I'm like, what the hell's going on? Just making sure everything's good at home. I hear a lot of talking. If I can hear it in the background, I start to worry. I'm like, what's going on? Usually I can't hear it, but anyway. Yeah, so and then we had some boxing happening this weekend too. Actually, before I get into anything else, let me hit up my sponsor real quick because as usual, I have to give a shout out to my sponsor, which is Noctane Smelling Salts, and I always want to make sure I get this in. Oh, you know what? All is good. You hit that main and
What's happening with you, man?
I meant to hit that and I forgot. But yeah, Noctane Smelling Salts, of course. Red cap is the most potent. I always got to start the show off with a little whiff of the smelling salts. You shake it up to get it going real nice and get yourself a good strong whiff. And if you hit that QR code or scan that QR code on the screen or click on the link in the description below, you can go check out their website and find out a lot more about the smelling salts and the product that they have and how much it is and all that good stuff. It's affordable and it lasts you a good long time and it's a great product. So I use it all the time. It helps keep me awake and alert and gives me a little quick adrenaline rush. So it's nice. Here we go. Oh, there it is. Oof. Seems harsh, but that's what I want. That's what I need at the moment. Oh, my eyes got real watery. And this is the most potent bottle. So even when it starts to wear off, it may take a couple of like, put it to your nose, bring it back, put it to your nose again, and then it hits you. Oof. But it's good. It's nice. And it's a good burn. Outside of the smelling salts, do you use any other supplements? Not really. Not really. I was doing a whole bunch of different vitamins and stuff like that for a while. And then it was getting real pricey and I wasn't feeling any kind. This is why I stay away from pills in general, because I just feel like I'm immune to all this stuff. I don't really, none of it really seems to affect me in good ways. And I'm obviously vitamins and stuff like that are good for you anyway. But a lot of the stuff, that you take that's supposed to help you with energy and focus and all that stuff, I never feel any of that kick in really. So I always feel like I'm just wasting my money. So I go through phases of really sticking to a regimen of vitamins, and then I fall off and I forget, and then I jump back in. And so it's just phases. And right now I'm kind of off of that, but I do feel like I need to get back on it and just to get my vitamins in. It's like I'm getting older. I need to be doing that shit anyway. It's just tough to keep up with it sometimes. That's a poor excuse, but that's what everyone else always has an excuse similar to that, I'm sure, that I've heard. So otherwise I keep myself awake and alert with Noctane. Yes, they're my sponsor, but I mean, I really just I use the product all the time. I use smelling salts before I even got sponsored. So believe it or not. So either way, I'm not a millionaire from being sponsored by this whatsoever. I really trade the product for promotion, and that's okay with me because they are a local company for me, and I like promoting them, and it's a good product. So, and everyone that's tried it likes it. So, yeah, check it out. Noctane Smelling Salts. Appreciate the support, and yeah, that's what I stick to for now. But I should get back on some kind of supplements. I'm getting older. I did do some what is it? I was doing a bunch of small things here and there, just trying to better myself in ways or make myself feel better. But get the energy up and stuff like that. It's tough, man. You gotta have the right you gotta spend a lot of money to get the right ones, I guess. But I need to get back to something, so I should do that. That's a good reminder, Antoine. Anyway, like I was saying, we had some boxing going on this weekend too. We had Mario Barrios versus Ryan Garcia. And man, I didn't get to watch the whole fight, but I did catch some of it, and I saw a lot of highlights. And Ryan Garcia looked pretty impressive, coming out. What was it, like 23 or 27 seconds in? He dropped Barrios right away, and it was pretty slick the way he did it. And he had some good boxing techniques throughout the entire. I mean, that sounds obvious considering he's a great boxer, high level boxer, but you know what I mean? Like when you slow it down and you really pay attention, I saw some slowed down highlights of some of the combinations and some of the, just the punches he was throwing out there were great. Do you think Garcia ever has a big fight ever again after his controversies? Yeah, I do think so. I mean, arguably, some of his, more recent fights are decently big, and he won. What did he? It's a championship he just won, correct? I mean, in boxing, it's different because, there's so many different organizations and promotions that they all have their own belts. And it's tough to, I guess it's kind of tough to really put in a lot on every one of these belts that they have. And I guess, I mean, technically they're a champ, so you can't really take that away from them. It's just there's so many, it's hard to keep up with it. And I hate to say that about boxing because I feel like it's taking something away from the fighters. But yeah, so he won the belt, becoming the WBC World Welterweight Champion. So, and that, Barrios was the champ before, so he takes the title from him in that organization and in the welterweight division. So, and I guess they have a new thing with a chain and a pendant, which is pretty dope. From what I saw in the pictures, I think Ryan Garcia has a lot of talent. Regardless of the way that he got dropped with the Devin Haney fight, with the body shot that people always refer back to, talking about him being a quitter. I think he's a talented boxer. I just think he has a lot of mental issues in the background that he has to take care of, and as long as he's taking care of them, he looks sharp like he did in this fight. So I think that if he keeps himself straight and stays away from all of the crazy bullshit, whatever he was getting into before, where he was flying off the handle and doing all kinds of crazy shit on social media, I think if he stays away from a lot of that stuff and continues to stay focused on boxing, that he definitely has a good long career ahead of him still. He's pretty young, if I remember correctly. Oh, damn. What did I just do? Yeah, he's still only 27, so he's got some years in him left. Who wins between Shakur versus Gervonta? Oh, man. See, I don't know because I just don't follow it close enough. I hate even saying what I think because I feel like an imposter when it comes to that because I don't follow boxing as closely. But what's up, Johnny, by the way? Thank you for jumping in. I do appreciate Shakur's I do appreciate his style. I think Gervonta Davis, that boy needs to get himself out of trouble. And I think he's a talented boxer as well, but I don't respect that guy for the things that he does outside of the ring. And it's hard for me to give him his props inside the ring, but he's accomplished and he's shown his greatness in the past. But just the things that he does outside of the cage is super, I mean, it's ridiculous, man. Right on, Antoine. Here you go. This is just for you.
Smoke weed every day.
But I think it'd be an interesting fight for sure. I just couldn't say exactly who would win. I would need to look into it a little bit further and to make a educated guess. I don't know. Gervonta needs to get his shit together outside of the cage. he needs to lock in and stop doing the dumb bullshit. I don't know. I feel like you're a weak person you're a weak man, I should say, a weak-minded man if you feel like you need to hit a woman because they get you to, you know what I mean? Like, they get you so mad that you need to hit them. Like, come on. I'd rather hit a dude for a very dumb, stupid, ridiculous, unreasonable reason, and get in trouble for that than to get in trouble for hitting a woman ever. That's just fucking stupid. And yeah, I've seen a lot of that in my past, and I've heard of dudes that have done it, and I've actually confronted dudes that have done it, and so for me, I don't get down with that shit. So Gervonta, just I respect his skills, but that's it for him. The rest of him can just go to hell. He's a part of a bigger group of people, or I should say a group of people that are in the combat sports world that are just pieces of shit. And that's just one of the this is just one of the things I just can't tolerate. So, and I know people will talk about all these other boxers in the past and stuff, but I feel like, I feel like there's a level of forgiveness that you can have with someone that seems to have changed up their life. And so, you know, while at the moment you might think that you can never forgive somebody for something like that, when 10 to 12 to 15 years go by and you've never seen them or heard of them doing things like that again, it's hard to forget that they did that in the past. But you can find it in yourself to maybe forgive someone enough to let it go and appreciate the person that they are now, instead of continuously holding that over their head. But the amount of times that Gervonta Davis has done this and has been, arrested for doing what he's done makes it hard to ignore right now. So there's a bigger conversation there that you can have with all of that. It's just tough to get into it, and I know that everyone will have their opinion as to against me, with me, or a little bit diverted from what I said. But that's just how I feel, and there's a lot more to it. But like I said, that's a whole different conversation that I don't really want to get into here because, yeah, some people will get bored with all that. Jimmy Lennon Jr. versus Bruce Buffer announcer tier. Well, I mean, for me, Bruce Buffer is the greatest, just because the energy he brings, the excitement he brings, the amount of people that he endears with his personality, his persona. I don't know if anybody ever caught his podcast back in the day. I don't know if he's still doing it. I do feel like there's a little bit of Bruce Buffer that makes me feel like he's a little too goody-goody in certain moments and at certain times. And it's a little bit kind of, there's a couple things that are just a little off about him, but I think that's what makes him the person that he is. Michael Buffer might disagree with you. No, I get that, Johnny. I was actually going to say, Michael Buffer, I mean, you got to think, man, they're cut from the same cloth. You know what I'm saying? They're brothers. So they have a talent. And I think Michael Buffer is great in his own realm, but I think Bruce Buffer has a little more about him. And speaking of, it was his 30-year anniversary on Saturday. They celebrated that, and he got teary-eyed and stuff, and I thought it was cool. I do appreciate Let's Get Ready to Rumble coming from Michael Buffer, and that's been around for so long that, and it's iconic for sure. But I think that the way that Bruce Buffer delivers his announcements, with all the energy and all of the exciting, physical activity that he does in the midst of it all. Some people find it cringe and get a little bit annoying, but think it's a little bit annoying sometimes. But I think that it's what gets the crowd pumped up when you have that many people that have videos out there of them just screaming it's time. That shows and proves how iconic that is. So you might disagree with me when it comes to between Michael Buffer and Bruce Buffer, but I feel like for me it's Bruce Buffer all day. Hamza don't have to worry about grapplers in his next two fights. True. Do you think it's time or Let's Get Ready to Rumble is more iconic given the fights they've introduced? Yeah, I mean, if you want to include what, of course they've been involved in so many fights that uh that are so big and crazy that it's hard because boxing's been around way longer. So if you want to add that in the mix, you kind of probably have to give it to Bruce Buffer because of the amount of historical battles that he's said let's get ready to rumble before. But the UFC has had so many fights too and has become so big and mainstream. It's hard to, you know, deny that as well. So it's tough. Gold Heavens 007. Oh, hey, what's up? Welcome in. Appreciate you for jumping in. Not sure I've seen you here before, so thanks for jumping in. I don't understand why the odds were favoring Fluffy. I knew without a doubt that Sean was going to win that fight and easily too. Dude does not get it. Are you talking about me not getting it? I think that okay. Well, I mean, here's the thing. The odds were favoring Fluffy because Sean was out for a year. That's always one of the big reasons why people start to wonder what's happening. The way he looked in his last fight is another reason why people were thinking that Fluffy might be able to overcome that. And also, Fluffy's on an 8-fight win streak. So that's something that can't be denied and that can't be ignored. And when you're out for a year, no one knows how you're going to come back. So sometimes that year is good for you and is advantageous for the reason that you get rid of any small injuries that might have been pestering you before, and it could be a way to clear your mind and allow you to overcome that loss that you previously had. But it can also hinder you because the ring rust is real with some guys. Some guys it's not, and that's okay. But the thing is Fluffy was on such a roll, it's hard to ignore that. If you discount that, then you have everyone asking why the hell you think Fluffy would easily beat. I mean, Fluffy would easily lose to Sean. Just because Sean Strickland was a champion one time doesn't mean that he's going to beat everybody. We saw what happened to him with the losses against DDP. So it was a toss-up kind of, I felt like. But I mean, if you disagree with me, that's fine. You're a Sean Strickland fan, I get it. I'm not a fan of everybody, so I understand feeling a certain way against them. But I think there's plenty of good reasons why Fluffy was had the advantage in the odds and stuff like that. And every massive fight, Michael Buffer is still there. I can't believe he's almost 80. Yeah, it's crazy, the longevity. But I mean, that's what we're talking about with Bruce Buffer too, or that's what he talked about on Saturday, was the fact that he's nowhere near being close to being done. He's got a lot more in him, so we'll see. Who's the greatest sports commentator of all time? I can't really say, because I can't really say that I paid a lot of attention to commentators in the past. Out of the red corner, main. So yeah, I don't really have a thought on that one at the moment. I know I say that a lot to a lot of things, but I really just don't. I don't. I don't sit here and think about all the time who the best of this and the best of that is, because there's arguments against all of them in one way or the other. Just like Gold Heaven said, that he doesn't see why Fluffy would even be favored in the odds. So there's always an argument against it, and I try to see things from the other direction of how I feel. And sometimes that's a detriment to me, because I can't give an answer, because I flip flop him, not in that way, but in my head, I'm thinking one thing and how it would be argued against with the way I feel. And then I'm like, well, that's a good argument, so I can't really say that I'm right. And, sometimes I just don't want to have the argument. And who's to say I'm right? Who's to say you're right if you don't agree with me? So sometimes it's just tough for me. But commentators are not something that I really paid attention to for a lot of the, a lot of the fights that I've watched. I haven't even really listened to because I was having big parties back in the day, and I was locked in on just watching the fight. I could barely hear it anyway because there's a lot of people in my house. So do you think the UFC is the front runner of fighting now, or is boxing still more popular? The UFC is not doing what they if they were doing what they were doing in the past, I would say like somewhere between 5 to 8 years ago and making the fights that they were making and having the stars that they had, they would easily be the front runner. But boxing's having a tough time not having a broadcast deal, and some of the things that boxing's going through right now, being shot down in numbers wise as far as viewership to something like MVP boxing or Misfits boxing is insane. So that's a blow to the boxing world. But also those organizations are keeping the sport of boxing in general afloat, as far as keeping it popular in the mainstream. As much as you may not like it and think it's a circus event or whatever, it's the truth. They're keeping it out there. They're keeping it relevant, and people will go and want to box. So yeah, I think Fluffy didn't use his wrestling to its full potential. Not at all, but you also got to give Sean Strickland his props for being able to defend the wrestling of Fluffy for the little bit that he did do. And maybe that's what kept him from continuously wanting to try, because he saw that right away he wasn't going to be able to get away with it. And maybe he gave it up for that reason, and that's probably one of his biggest problems. Okay, Gold Heaven. That's a great take. I mean, for you to say that you knew without a doubt he was going to beat him, but literally anything can happen, that's a realistic take, and I appreciate you saying that, because a lot of people will just stick to their guns and say, I don't care, you're dumb if you think that he was going to lose, because anything could happen at any point in time. Barring an injury or some kind of a slip up, an eye poke, anything can happen. Anything can happen, literally. And he emphasized the word literally. And I appreciate that take, because I'm not sure how to take what you said before. If that was a shot at me or whatever, no big deal. I don't care. But I appreciate this take, because you're acknowledging the fact that anything could have happened, no matter how sure you were. So I appreciate that. Thank you for your interaction. Like Kevin Harlan or John Madden, people like that. Marv Albert. Yeah, I mean, John Madden was great. Marv Albert was good too. I'm not sure who Kevin Harlan was. I might be missing that one. I might know who he is if I heard him. Who's the greatest comedian of all time? That's subjective too. There's so many comedians these days. I mean, I like a lot of guys. Like, I do like Shane Gillis. I like Joe Rogan's. I like some of Joe Rogan's comedy. And there's a lot of guys. Joey Diaz is fucking hilarious. Joey Diaz is one of the greats for sure. And then you go back in the day to Richard Pryor, and there's a lot of guys back then. I don't really have a lot of favorites of a lot of things. So 100% I agree. As a journalist, I respect everyone's opinion. They're all just opinions at the end of the day. Yeah, it's just sometimes. Oh, Dave Chappelle for sure, Antoine, 100%. Dave Chappelle is one of my favorites. Chris Rock back in the day was hilarious as well. Martin Lawrence too, fucking funny as hell. Who are you picking between Sean Brady versus Buckley? Bro, Johnny, I didn't even see you said Chappelle. That's a good call too. You said it first. Good call. Brady versus Buckley. I think if Brady doesn't let what happened with the Morales fight get to him too much, I think he can beat Buckley. I wouldn't say easily, but I think he could definitely beat Buckley, because we've seen Buckley fold against some of the guys that aren't older and that are high level. But Buckley has that power and speed that can kill at times. So I wouldn't count Buckley out 100%, but I'd be favoring Brady in that one, as long as he can overcome that loss from Morales, because that was a tough loss. So that's a tough one. But yeah, that was my thoughts on the boxing match. That Morales' height and reach was too much for Brady. It was, man. Morales is a big motherfucker. And as zesty as you might want to think he is, he's got some power and some skill. How far that takes him against higher level opponents, I'm not sure. I don't know that he has that much experience in him to be able to overcome the upper echelon of the weight class, but he's definitely got enough skills to get him to that point to then test himself. hopefully we get Usman versus Morales. Yeah, see, and that would definitely be a high-level experienced fighter that can do a little more in the grappling and wrestling section, that might be able to slow down a little bit of what Morales has to give. But can he overcome that size and power of Morales? I don't know, because look what Leon Edwards did to him with the head kick. If he leaves himself open for something like that, yes, that's a great point too, Johnny. Morales with the cardio, that definitely might hurt him in a fight against someone like Usman, who will take you into deep waters. And if he doesn't get knocked out early, he will take you into deep waters, and he will survive. And if Morales doesn't get his cardio up, that could be a detriment for him. So yeah, those are all great questions, all great interactions. I appreciate all you guys for doing that and being in here. And before I get too far, I just want to say, if you don't mind, hit that like button while you're here, before it gets too late and we forget about it. I always like to, remind everybody, because, if you like what you're seeing and you like the interactions and stuff, hit that like button and just show your appreciation that way. And if you can, go a step further. If you're not subscribed, please do that as well. And if you want to know when I'm live or just put out any content whatsoever, hit that notification bell as well after you subscribe, and it'll tell you whenever I go live or put out any sort of content. And you can personalize those notifications as well. So choose which one is the one you want, and just do all or any of that for me if you don't mind, please. I appreciate that. Are comedians giving TED Talks now, man? What the fuck? I don't know. Maybe. Some of them seem like they are, honestly. I can't lie. Anyway, let's get into this UFC Houston card. That's really what I wanted to cover. Oh, Johnny, good point. I will touch on that one real quick. Eddie Hearns versus Dana White should have a street fight. That's funny. We know that won't happen, but they are beefing hardcore right now, and that's because Dana White's talking mad shit because they had a great night of fights for Zuffa Boxing 3. And was it 3? Yeah, I think it was 3. But man, they had some exciting fights, some great knockouts. I know we were on the podcast while that was happening, and everyone was telling me updates in the chat, and I appreciate that. But and I did go back and watch a couple of the fights and checked out a lot of the highlights, and man, it seemed pretty exciting, and that's good shit. Now we've got something else I did want to talk about too. Now we've got Jayo Patayo coming in and boxing sometime soon. I don't remember exactly what day that is, but so we got a big name there. We got him coming in, and then we got Conor Benn just got signed to a gigantic deal for one fight, which is insane. And I see a lot of chatter about the UFC fighters should wake up and pay attention and have a problem with this, because if Zuffa Boxing with Dana White can pay these guys in boxing to come over for one match and pay them 8 figures, why the hell are none of the guys that have been struggling and grinding in the UFC, that have a lot of viewership, that bring a lot of eyes to the screens and stuff like that? There you go. Gold Heaven just said it as well. Conor Benn getting like 15 million. I wonder how UFC fighters feel about this. It's bullshit, man. It's bullshit. It's one thing when it's completely separated and moved away from, the sport that they're in, but when the same parent company is shelling out that kind of money for the boxing side of things, when the MMA fighters still get pennies on the dollar when it comes to comparison wise, yeah, there should be a big problem. And what's going to happen? Probably fucking nothing, unfortunately, because these guys have tried and tried and tried. Very few have tried and failed at doing anything of becoming a union or collective bargaining. None of that shit seems to help or matter. The UFC kind of has a monopoly on the MMA world right now. You might be able to get paid for a short period of time, big money outside of the UFC, but it doesn't ever seem to be sustainable. So none of these other organizations can compete with the UFC as far as popularity, viewership, and maybe some of them with viewership, but they just can't seem to compete in the manner of the popularity and mainstream of the UFC and their marketing. And while they might shell out a lot of money for those types of things, they are not shelling out the money for the fighters. And as much as Dana White wants to try to justify any of that with whatever reasonings he has and make fighters feel better by getting a 100K bonus instead of a 50K bonus, as well as a 25K finish bonus, that doesn't really account for your total amount of money that you would make in a year by only having 2 fights, maybe 3. You can have 2 or 3 fights in a year and be well off if you're a boxer, high level boxer. But I know that the lower level boxers do not get paid that amount whatsoever. So that is something else to take into consideration. UFC fighters had their chance with the union back with GSP and with Francis even, but they won't do it. Most didn't even testify against UFC in the lawsuit. So there's that. Great point, Gold. That's a great point. And the problem is that the UFC is not like the NFL, the NBA, the MLB. They're not teams. You know what I mean? The teams can come together. There's not they are teams in MMA, but you go in there as a sole individual. You may have your team in your corner. You may have your fight team that you fight out of, but really everyone's in there in business for themselves. And so that's what makes it tough, because the upper level guys that could really make the traction happen with wanting to not fight in order to make sure that they get the money, they don't want to do that and risk the money that they're getting already, because they're getting paid so much more than most of the other fighters on the roster. So it's tough to try to come about doing something like a union when those guys don't want to be the ones to step up and you know, try to collect everybody to do the same thing. It's just too much of an individualized sport, and people just see what they're doing and what they're getting in the moment as being lucky for that, instead of seeing the bigger picture of helping everybody in the sport, like GSP might have been trying to do, or even Francis, like Gold said. Yeah, man, it's a tough one, and it sucks to see it happen, but that's the game right now, and I would love to see a change, but when and if we ever see that is questionable. So, Anthony Smith returning main. Is he? No way. I didn't see anything about that. But I could be wrong. I might not have seen it. If he is, that's a damn shame, because he needs to just stay out and just do something else, man, because he wasn't doing well at the end there. So let's get into this UFC Houston card, and we'll get started, of course, by a few takeaways. He's fighting Chase Sherman? Are you serious? What the fuck? How did I miss this? I didn't see this at all. But in the not in the UFC, right? Chase Sherman's not in the UFC. Anthony Smith, man, he just needs to fucking stop. Maybe the UFC's too much for. Oh, and Jorge Masvidal's promotion. Okay, well, that makes sense. They're doing bare knuckle MMA over there, I think. So that's a whole different thing. I don't know that he's gonna see a big difference over there, but there's people like Mike Perry who made. Do you think it's the itch for competition or money? I think it's a combination of both. I think the money thing, as much as we might want to talk about the fighters not getting paid a lot, they probably don't get paid nearly as much to be commentators or analysts or anything like that. So they miss that money. And on top of that, the competition is always something in the back of someone's head that at fights at a high level like that. There's very few guys that can walk away from it and never think about it again and be okay with that. So I think it's a mix of both for sure. A lot of guys do come back only for the money, but I mean, that's it's because it's all they know how to do, and it's the only thing that they feel like they're good at. I feel like Dana has lost his grip, lost his hunger. I remember when you would have got excited for every card back in the day, even kind of waiting for the card to start at the start of the week. 100% Gold. That's another great point from you. For sure, Dana has moved on. He's not the sole person to make decisions anymore. I don't think he ever truly was, but he had the most influence on what happens. He was heading up everything, and as he's said in the recent past, that he no longer is the one making all of the matchups or making all the big moves in the UFC. He's moved on. He's got Power Slap. He's got Zuffa Boxing, Dana White's Contender Series, and he heads up all that stuff, and he seems way more passionate about those things. Even though Dana White's Contender Series is a part of MMA, it's still not the UFC as a whole. So it's a feeder promotion or project type thing. So he just sees that as I mean, he's obviously always wanted to be involved in boxing, so now that's his baby now, and that's what you see he's most passionate about that right now, with the way that he reacts to people's comments and questions when it comes to Zuffa Boxing. So what up, Tyler Fish? Welcome back. Appreciate you for coming back. Did I miss much? No, we just talked about a bunch of random stuff. Some of it you might find interesting and important to listen to, so go check it out after we're done if you wanna see what we talked about. A lot of fighter pay stuff. We talked about the boxing match that happened this weekend with Ryan Garcia and Mario Barrios, and we talked about yeah, that was a lot of it. So you can go back and check out what the details were later on. And you also, by the way, if you guys ever want to listen only instead of watching because you can't or some reason, I prefer you come to the YouTube channel because I'm trying to grow the channel always. But so even if you do listen on Spotify, which you can listen and watch on Spotify, just make your way back to the channel and, you know, give it a view, give it a like, and you know, just let me get that stuff in there too. But if you can't at the moment for some reason, and you need to you want to watch or listen to the show on something other than YouTube, you can go to Spotify, because I am on there and I upload all of my content on there as well. So in case you didn't know, I do on the main screen have that running across the bottom, and you can just find it. Going Around's podcast, you'll find it. Zuffa Boxing has delivered 100%. I think it started a little bit slow, but for sure this last event picked up a lot of momentum, and now with the big major signings that they're having coming out recently, I think that that's gonna perpetuate it even more. So I think it's definitely gonna show it has some promise. And with the feud between Dana White and all the other promoters in boxing right now, that's definitely going to add to it as well. Conor Benn got signed, right? Yes, he did, for a lot of fucking money for one fight, which is one of the things we were talking about, the UFC fighters and how they're affected by that, and the fact that they should probably be pretty pissed about that and try to do something about it. But we all know at this point it's going to take a lot for that to happen. So as far as this fight went though, UFC Houston, holy fuck, was this a rough one to pay attention to in the beginning. The undercard was very, very tiring to watch. It was somewhat boring at times, and I hate to say that about a sport that I like, but it's true. A lot of decisions, and that doesn't always necessarily mean bad fights or boring fights, but in this case it kind of did. Allergic to finishes, for sure. For sure, there is absolutely no doubt about that. They just couldn't do it, man. There was one finish throughout the entire undercard, which is sad. Very sad, especially when you get a bonus for getting a finish. It's like, what's stopping you now? I get it. You find a matchup that you guys kind of stalemate in or something, but other than that, why are you not going for a finish? I know it's a tough sport, and I know it's easier said than done. I'm sitting here on a comfy, you know, chair behind a mic, staring at a screen and thinking that I know more than anybody. But you know, there's some people got to talk about the sport. That's what keeps the sport popular and moving. And while I'm one of the smallest people you can pay attention to, watch, or you know, interact with, I appreciate all of you for doing that, by the way. But and while my thoughts on the whole, you know, on the whole sport has no bearing on the sport, it's still I'm still here to talk about it because it's a sport that I love and I'm passionate about. as a viewer and as a fan for a very long time. So I hate seeing stuff like this when people are talking about what Tyler just said. I almost fell asleep. No joke. I mean, I tried to watch some of the fights back and I was damn near falling asleep too. After I tried to watch them back, I did watch them live as well, but I was doing other things, so I had it on my phone, not watching every second of it. So I was hoping that maybe I missed it, but I am involved in a group chat with Comrade Sports Today and some other people that everyone kind of had the same feeling about it. It just wasn't a great undercard, and it sucked to try to sit through some of those fights. So I feel like the promise of money to get a finish hasn't really taken too much of an effect on the sport. I think everyone's still trying to make their way up the ladder, find ways to get ranked or get ranked higher in their division, and they don't want to take the chance of getting injured to be out for a while. I feel like if people were paid more, they might feel more inclined to take bigger risks. But at the same time, we see some of the highest paid guys in the sport taking lots of time off because they just don't need the money after getting paid so much. So there's an upside and a downside to fighter pay increasing drastically, as well as guys in the UFC making so much money that it kind of makes them lazy and makes them not feel like the sense of urgency to fight as much. I feel like there needs to be a good combination of fighters that are passionate about fighting and want to fight all the time and getting paid handsomely for it. See that too. I said last week all Dana needs is that big signing for Zuffa Boxing, and he got it. I don't know if Conor Benn's the end all be all of a big signing. I think that they shelled out the money for somebody who's popular right now, but I don't know that he's the biggest signing they could have got. But then again, who would be in boxing? There's a lot of names out there that people recognize and pay attention to, but yeah, maybe I'm not in touch enough with the boxing side of things to know. I know Conor Benn's a big name in the sport, especially as of late with his fights against Eubank and stuff like that. But we saw Conor Ben get 15 million for his Zuffa deal, and Eddie Hearn was pissed. Dana ragged on him at the post fight. Yeah, that's what I was talking about earlier with the beef between them. They should come up with some kind of power ranking system, and finishes are worth more in regards to your ranking. Yeah, I feel like they could do that, but it makes things a little more convoluted. And if it motivates fighters then that would be a great thing. And really, as I'm talking about it, I'm thinking about it, and that does make a lot of sense, because like I said, if they're so worried about getting up there in the rankings, well, if you're a higher ranked fighter getting finishes, you get paid more. You know what, Tyler? That's a fucking great point. They're already using AI for the rankings. No, they could do that, I think. Tyler, those are great points, man. Honestly, that's something to think about. I'm sure that there's some flaws in there somewhere, but I think the biggest problem is that the UFC understands and knows that they can get away with not paying these guys anymore. Why isn't the revenue that they're making going more towards the fighter pay? I don't know. That's horrible, Tyler. I mean, I don't I don't know. Like I said, there's always somebody who thinks it's a bad idea. I feel like it's not that bad of an idea. I'd like to know your reasoning for saying that, Gold. As far as like what's the flaw you see in that? Because if they are more worried about getting higher in the rankings, the higher in the ranking they are, if they're getting finishes as well, they get paid more for that. But you know that it does kind of perpetuate more of that bullshit show win fucking pay structure, which kind of sucks. Like you're already putting so much on the line just to compete, and you have most of these guys have to keep a fucking steady job in order to continue to fight full time. And they also have to have a full-time job because they have to pay for their training, pay for their nutrition, pay for medical expenses, if the UFC is not covering it, stuff like that. So, you know, if you get them to be like, you know, MLB, NFL, and NHL players and stuff like that, that can focus solely on their sport and pay them enough to do that, then maybe you get better, maybe you get bigger stars, maybe you get better fighters, who knows? And I know that we've already evolved a lot further than where we were back in the day, but it seems like those guys back in the day had so much passion for the sport that it didn't even matter. They weren't getting paid a lot. They were in there to do the damn thing and show that they were the best. And that, like all is good is said, inactivity has been normalized because they're not as passionate about it anymore. Everyone's looking for that brand deal or that outside deal that's going to get them the money more than they are worried about getting a lot of extra fights in the UFC to make that money. If you were 20 years old, how long would you grind the regional scene until you give up because you didn't make the UFC? Would you be 35 on the regional scene? Never having made it to the UFC or never having made it to the higher levels, I don't think I would ever go that far if I started at 20 years old. That's 15 years of regional scenes, fighting for hundreds of dollars instead of thousands or tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands. Yeah, that's whack. 15 years of that. There's a point in time where I myself would have said, you know, fuck that. Putting your body through all of that, regardless of how passionate you are about the sport, that would be tough. But I feel like if I were to go that long, I don't know that I could continue, especially if it didn't look promising. Sometimes you just got to know when to give it up. Bilal started at 22. Yeah, I don't know. I think Volk started at 21 or 22. Or am I tripping? I'm not exactly sure, Gold. That's a good question. I don't think that I don't think that that's abnormal to start at that age. Facts and Muhammad became champion at 36. Yeah, but he wasn't grinding on the regional scene for that whole time. He was in the UFC for a lot of that time. So that's the difference. You asked if how long would you grind on the regional scene until you give up because you didn't make the UFC. So that's a big difference. So while saying that they started at those ages, you know, means something in that manner, I don't think it means a whole lot in, you know, comparison to what the actual question was. If they're being in the UFC for that long, of course you're going to continue to grind to become a champion. But you know, if you're losing 6 to 7 fights in a row and and you don't seem to be able to turn it around and the UFC is keeping you in there, i.e. Tai Tuivasa, of course, if they want to keep you around, cool. But you know, when do you say this isn't really doing it anymore? Because you're not also getting the wins. And yeah, maybe I just give up faster. I'm not sure. It's kind of hard to explain in YT chat, but I think points ranking structure could be good. For example, if you beat number 10 ranked guy, you get 10 points, and 12 if you get a finish. I mean, I understand the concept of what you're saying, Tyler. I was more asking Gold Heaven to explain why he disagreed with you a bit, just because he said that's horrible. So I was just curious as to, you know, what his thought process was on that. So that might be a bad idea. I don't know. I don't think it's a total bad idea. Obviously it would have to be refined a bit, but I think I understand the concept, and I agree that it could be a possible way to motivate people a little more, but I'm not sure. GRP fight rules, man. Like say you lost on Contender Series at 30 years old, would fight until 33 to get another shot on. Yeah, I mean, if you've been fighting all your life and you're at 30 years old losing on Contender Series, I mean, I would see going a little further, but like you said, 35 I think is a good cutoff point where it's like, if it hasn't happened yet and you've had a couple opportunities and you failed them, it might be time to pack it up. Tyler, I know I was waiting for somebody to say, because I didn't even realize I said it till just like the second after, but oh man, that shit doesn't go away, man. It doesn't go away. So I'm always waiting for somebody to say some shit, and then I make it more obvious, damn it. Anyway, back to UFC Houston. Again, the prelims were atrocious. The main card saved it a bit though. While we didn't get all finishes, we got some exciting finishes and we had some decent fights for those for those decision fights that happened, it looks like if I go back to it on the main card, we had 2 decisions, but both of those decisions, the fights were actually pretty good. So, and then the rest were TKO KO wins, and that's what makes it exciting. So that helps a lot, and that makes for a great main card, or good at least, if you don't want to say great. They are part of the sport. Decisions are part of the sport. Fighters like MVP Jan Merab, for example, that are very good but fail to knock their opponent out. So where does that put them in the ranking system? I don't think. I think it's just an extra. I think we're talking as that's just an extra incentive to try to get a finish. If you are an exciting fighter, like I think Merab's exciting, even though he goes to decision quite a bit. I think that he's an exciting fighter still, because it's trying to watch people beat him at his game or beat his game is exciting enough. And the damn win streak that he went on, while people complained about it, I felt like it was exciting to see him go on that much of a win streak. I feel like he pushed it too far, and Jan came in looking as damn good as he did, and made that turnaround and was able to avenge his loss previously. So he deserves that win, and I think Merab should have just waited it out a little more. But activity sells, man. When you're that active and people enjoy what you do, especially when you're big in social media like Merab is. I wouldn't say the biggest, but he's big enough. People enjoy his skits and stuff like that. So you know, that helps. Well, they can still climb the rankings. They just need to win one extra fight. I think it's more like they can still climb the rankings, but they just make more money if they get finishes. So I don't think that it should affect how they climb the rankings. I just think that incentives to finish fights above and beyond when you're going up in the rankings might help in that manner of people saying, I don't give a shit about the 25K. I just want to work my way up to getting a championship. And if that's the case, maybe they would ignore it still if they got more money. But if they got enough money to make it matter, they might take a few more chances in the process of climbing those rankings. These are just examples, but I mean, sometimes fighters like Lerone Murphy get a KO on Makwan Amirkhani and Pico, where it come out of nowhere. So where does it put fighters like that? Well, I mean, those fighters are ranked. Lerone Murphy is on a huge win streak. I just think that the UFC doesn't find them very valuable with their fight styles, even though they come out of nowhere with a big KO like that. If they are incentivized to continue to do things like that in their fights and take those chances to get big knockouts or big finishes, you know, home runs versus bunts, man. I mean, that's a good analogy, honestly, because bunts are effective, and you know, sacrifice bunts give you runs and help you score in the game. And but you know, that's not always the case. They advance runners and put them into scoring positions to allow for a possible run to come in. So you know, if somebody's on second base and you get a sacrifice bunt, they move over to third and you only have one out after you get out, then you can get a sacrifice fly and score that run. But you know, and that's effective, but it's not the most exciting thing in the world. So, you know, and of course, home runs are the things that people look to see in baseball. So, yeah, that's a good matchup. That's a good comparison there. All is good. Personally, I think it's super hard to finish another good fighter. You got to have a lot of power to finish opponents consistently, or like crazy wrestling. No, I understand that. I mean, nobody's discounting the skills that it takes to get finishes, but I think there's a lot of guys out there that are capable of getting finishes, but know the risk that comes with. And while that is a intelligent way to fight for your health and for your ranking and for your progression in the sport, I think that if the organization has clearly stated that they're looking for exciting fighters and they're going to reward those exciting fighters, you might want to think about taking those chances a little more than not. I'm not siding with the UFC on this one. I'm just saying what I think is the situation that we're in right now with the state of the UFC and how things work. And while it might sound kind of antiquated to think of the sport of MMA to be a tough guy sport that wants to prove how tough they are by knocking people out, I mean, striking is a part of the game, but so is grappling and wrestling and submissions, and those submissions can be as exciting as the knockouts. Look at what Demetrius Johnson did. Not too many people can do some shit like that, but look at what he did with that submission against Ray Borg, where he, you know, fucking threw him in the air and mid-air transitioned into an armbar and fucking submitted him. That shit was exciting as hell. If we're not talking about resume and only focus on combat, I feel like we gotta have Khabib in the top 5 GOAT. Am I the only one thinking this? No, Khabib's one of my favorite fighters of all time, so I'm with you on that one 100%. That's why I can understand the opposite side, where, you know, maybe just taking people to deep waters and domination over them on the ground is also another side of the sport that people can appreciate. But the UFC is clearly in the business of having exciting fights, and the way that they're thinking an exciting fight is justifiable is if there's a finish. So they're motivating people by getting finishes and giving them a disclosed $25,000 bonus. So I mean, just keeping that in mind, that's why I go off of everything I said, basically. So yeah, let's get into now that we're an hour in, and but listen, I appreciate all of this interaction, and these are good questions, good points being made, and just being able to talk about it all with you guys, and not having to you know, just have arguments is productive in my eyes for the sport as fans. Those are discussions that people like to have, and you know, while some discussions that people like to have about the sport and fighters in general seem to be repetitive and get kind of played out, these are some of those questions and topics that I feel like are definitely interesting and thought-provoking, and yeah, that's what makes me like to do my show. So I'm glad that I get to be here and do that. Fire chat thus far, most definitely. Oh, thanks, Antoine. You've been watching the Phoenix? No, I don't watch a lot of basketball at all, really, unfortunately. I wish I had time to, but I just don't. Even Hamzat could not do the stuff Khabib did. Damn, dude felt like a once-in-a-lifetime fighter. Yeah, man. A lot of people don't agree with you on that, but I feel like Khabib was special. While people might think that Islam has surpassed what he can do because of his striking, his change of weight class and the amount of time he's been fighting, the win streaks and all that stuff, Khabib was undefeated. He did some things that we just haven't really seen out of a lot of other people, and I think that he's definitely one of the greats in the sport and always will be. I don't know that we're gonna, you know, he's one of those guys that's kind of one of a kind. Sure, you might say a lot of, there's Dagestanis all over the place that do the same shit, but if you appreciate what Khabib did, you know that his style was different, and the intricacies of his fighting style is what made him special. And if you went back to that time, you would completely understand why. So one more Islam win, and you have to admit he passed Khabib up. Like I said, you can think that all you want, and that's perfectly fine, and I agree to a certain extent. But as far as anyone ever being Khabib again, no, I mean that's fine too, Gold. I understand. Like I said, I like to see things from both sides of the perspective, and it annoys the fuck out of me that I'm that way, and it might annoy other people because I do get frustrated with things sometimes because oh, I see what you're saying. I think he already passed Khabib. Okay. I see. Now I'm getting the full perspective of what you're saying. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Yes, I agree. I'm not even gonna finish what I was saying because I agree. He already passed Khabib. That's fair. That's 100% fair. And we don't even gotta wait for one more win, Tyler. I'm not really worried about that part. I'm just, you know, talking like Gold said in the overall perspective. Yeah, I know, Tyler. I figured that. And that's fine, because, you know, I was arguing that point a while back, and then when I really sat and thought about it and looked into some things a little further, I think I actually came back and said I kind of agree. that I can understand why people would think that he surpassed Khabib, and I could think that people, you know, understand why people would think that he's better overall, and that's fine. But I just don't think there'll ever be another Khabib in that fashion, at least not for a long time. So let's get into the prelims and talk about what happened here. While the fights weren't that exciting, we still got to go over them. I mean, some shit happened throughout the entire, you know, prelim card. And we started with the women. Juliana Miller versus Carly Judice. Yeah, I mean, like, fighting, he is the most dominant. No way we come across another fighter like him. People like to point out Merab, but Khabib did not make it competitive at all. Yeah, I think prime Khabib is the most dominant fighter ever. I mean, great points, 100%. You know, again, he's one of my favorite fighters of all time. So, yeah, I'm not going to argue that point. I know why people would, but I'm not going to, because yeah, he's one of my favorite fighters of all time for sure. I had shirts of Khabib. I fought battles in the streets because of Khabib, and I just mean, you know, arguing with people, and of course with the Dagestanis, you always get the people that want to talk about them and their, you know, what they believe in and all this other shit. But when it comes down to it, I'm just talking about the sport. I don't know about Marty Lewis back in the day, man, in those old school boxing matches. What the fuck does that have to do with anything? And no, I don't know who Marty Lewis is. Maybe I do, but it doesn't ring a bell to me. He was dominant for sure. He was dominant. The things that he did in the cage were domination, 100%. Bones is the great, but if we're talking about the art of fighting, that's my man Khabib. Khabib. Oh yeah, some Joey Diaz. Khabib. That's awesome. But yeah, with Juliana Miller, I expected a little more coming out of Juliana Miller with this one, but Carly Judice is or Judice. They kept saying Judice, so I guess that's how you say it. But with the kind of wins that she's put up before, I mean, Juliana Miller was the Ultimate Fighter winner, and she's great with her grappling and stuff, and submissions. But you know, even though she got Judice's back in the early portions of the fight, she even got the hooks in and stuff like that. But Judice was able to get out of that. You know, she stuffed takedowns left and right, kept the fight standing, and that's where she excels. As we can see in these pictures, she got some great strikes in there. Miller just kept hunting for the you know, transitions on the ground, scrambling, but just couldn't control. You know, she couldn't keep the control long enough to turn it into anything that was going to matter, or even get a, you know, submission. As the rounds went on, Judice just locked in a little more and got more comfortable, landed more strikes, and basically dictated the pace. So she, you know, Miller just didn't have much to her. She had her, you know, her small wins here and there, but in the end, Judice just was the better fighter of the night. So I guess when you're looking to be the dominant grappler, as we were talking about with Khabib, if you can't get that control and you can't keep someone on the ground long enough to, you know, make the good transitions or whatever, it's going to stay on the feet if that's where they want it. And, you know, if they can defend those takedowns and stuff, and yeah, that the fighter is going to win on the feet if that's what they're good at. 17 title wins, even with the roid. Nobody is beating that, especially with how MMA has grown. The belt's going to get passed around like a blunt. Yeah, we talked about that too in a couple shows ago, Gold. If I am pretty sure you're new here, so you can go back a couple of episodes, and we talked about champions then versus now when we had that week off. I think that was last week, actually. And we talked about the fact that, you know, the way that the title was defended and the title reigns that were held back in the day, as opposed to the way they are now. You know, Tyler, sometimes I wonder if you really are a high school student, because someone that would unless you're just using AI, but someone that would put together a comment like this doesn't really make me feel confident that you're actually in high school. Marty Lewis got erased from the record books by the Ali Foundation because Ali ducked him for years only hardcore old school boxing fans know. Yeah, and you're not old school whatsoever. I guess you're a fan of it. So either you've done a lot of research or you're lying about your age, which I don't really give a shit either way. It's just sometimes it's pretty obvious that you are not even a high school student unless you're just very skilled with the AI portion of things. Of course, I knew you were gonna say something like that. Anyway, let's move on to the next fight on the prelims, and that was Jordan Levitt versus Yadier Del Valle. Shout out Lucas Tracy, Victorian era main. Oh shit. Yeah, Jordan Levitt versus Del Valle. Jordan Levitt, I mean, he did what Juliana Miller was trying to do. But the thing is I mean, Del Valle is kind of a ground game guy too. But Jordan Levitt just did it better. You know, he out wrestled, he controlled most of the action, and with his takedowns, top pressure, and just dominating the grappling overall. And Del Valle, you know, he showed some stuff here and there, but overall, I mean, he had some good scrambles, and he was on top for a bit, but he never was able to get Jordan Levitt to, you know, get off of the rhythm he was on, being able to control everything, and you know, just pretty much keeping that top pressure and winning the scrambles and the grappling. So he was able to basically beat him on the cart. But look into him. Thanks, Antoine. Look him up. You have to use the secret hardcore. Okay, whatever you say, dude. He dominated homie straight up. Jordan is strong as fuck. Like, there's probably so many people who thought they could beat his ass and got folded like lawn chairs. Yeah. We're talking about I'm thrown off by Tyler. This is why sometimes I'm just like, okay, man, whatever you say. That's why it's not worth looking up, Tyler, because you're saying it won't come up, which makes me feel like it never would have in the first place. So it's all good. I try to lock in and be here present for you guys on this show. So if I'm not comprehending some things, sometimes it's because I am trying to stick to the show and get the show done too. All right, Gold, thank you. I appreciate you for jumping in. Make sure you like the video before you go. And if you want to, check out the show in the future, I'd appreciate that too. Subscribe if you don't mind as well, but up to you. Thanks for the interaction. Anyway, back to yeah, Jordan Levitt though. He definitely I thought Del Valle was going to come out a little different in this fight and be able to get the better of Levitt. I wanted to look back at Del Valle and see, because he was 2-0 and he had 2 first round submission wins. So I was expecting him to be able to get himself in a position where he was gonna be able to, put Levitt in a position to submit him like Paddy Pimblett did. But instead he was, just dominated on the ground, got frustrated, and was not able to overcome what Jordan Levitt had for him. After 2 first round submission wins in the UFC, he suffers his first loss to Jordan Levitt by unanimous decision. So that brings us over to Punahele Soriano versus, oh, I'm sorry, I just pushed the wrong button. It's actually Phil Rowe versus Jean-Paul Lebosiani. And this one was a split decision win for Lebosiani. And this one, I mean, there was some decent action in this one, I guess. Brahimaj came out. Oh, I'm sorry. Fucking what? I completely read the wrong thing. Oh, it's because I'm on the wrong. Oh my God. What? That's funny. Anyway, Leviziani just came out. He was more active. He was aggressive, and you know, he got some good shots in on Phil Rowe too, even almost submitting him there. I kind of thought he was going to get the submission at that point, but he wasn't able to lock it in. He did win by split decision, so it was a little bit of a closer fight, but he kept Rowe on his back foot. You know, he had some good leg kicks, and he mixed up a lot of things to keep Phil Rowe guessing, basically. So I just feel like he just kept Phil Rowe guessing the whole time. Wasn't able to get into a rhythm and start really getting to a point where he found any openings on Leviziani. He had a few moments here and there. Okay, Tyler. He had some good defense at times, and he landed some clean shots, but he just didn't have a lot of output, and the consistency of Leviziani was able to overcome Rowe and get the win. So not a whole lot to talk about there. I mean, it was a split decision, so it wasn't a runaway fight, but and it wasn't horrible, but again, it's just another one of those decisions that happened in the middle of the prelims. And that brings us now to Punahele Soriano versus Ramiz Brahimaj, where Soriano wins by unanimous decision here. Brahimaj came out strong in the beginning. He controlled the grappling and stuff early, and landed a bunch of takedowns, or a few takedowns in the first couple rounds, but there wasn't a ton of like offense and stuff on this one, even though you see some coming from Soriano here. Of course, it almost looks like the same punch from different directions. There wasn't a whole lot of pictures to pick from either, and that tells you a lot about the fight. But you know, Soriano pretty much turned up the volume with some striking, and that's where you got these pictures from. He landed a key takedown at the end of and finishing on top at the end of the round, and kind of stole the rounds with some of those, even if they were a bit questionable. So it was a good back and forth fight, but Soriano just was able to get the better of Brahimaj in this one and get the win by unanimous decision. And that takes us over to you gotta be kidding me. I did it again, and I picked the wrong button. I'm just having trouble with my button pressing here. It's my own fault too, because I'm just not looking before I press. We have, back to the women, we have Nora Cornelli versus Jocelyn Edwards. This is where it got a little more exciting in the fights in the middle of the prelims, because we had a finish in the second round with Jocelyn Edwards getting a submission by rear naked choke 2 minutes and 44 seconds into the round. But before that, as you can see in that left picture, she picked up Cornelli and threw her on her side, which I think damaged her shoulder and pretty much dazed Cornelli quite a bit. Yeah, for sure, Antoine. That's pretty much where I'm getting at, because she looked like she was real damaged after that throw that Jocelyn Edwards, that slam, I should say. And she almost looked like she could have been partly knocked out or flash knocked out, and then Edwards started just beating on her. And at that point in time, it should have gotten finished, and instead the ref just let it keep going and basically wanted to see death or something. But Jocelyn Edwards, whether it was on purpose or just strategically, goes for the submission and is able to tighten up that submission and get it to win her the fight in the second round. And Cornelli, I mean, she was dazed and in a lot of pain. She was sitting on, she couldn't even make it over for the official announcement, and she couldn't even get off the stool even after Edwards was out of the cage. It took a while. So yeah, that was a bad one. She's definitely got a big injury, and I would assume she's gonna be out for a little bit. We'll wait and see what they have to say about the injuries there. So next we have Alden Correa versus Luis Gurule. I think that's how they said it. Some of these names on this card, man, are tough. But Correa winds up getting the win by unanimous decision. I guess for the most part, he controlled the action throughout the entire fight. As you can see, he landed some good punches, landed a big head kick there. He had some good takedowns. He definitely some high output. He built it up to the point where, he was scoring points, able to get him that unanimous decision win. Gurule showed, effort with kicks and some of the movement, trying to get the defense going. And but he just couldn't keep Correa off of him. And he just couldn't put anything together to really get it going. Correa just had the momentum and was able to land the striking and just control overall. So his pressure and efficiency and the offense that he put up kept him in control all the way through and wound up getting him that unanimous decision win. So it was a good showing for Correa, even though, the fight was what it was. He gets a unanimous decision win. And that takes us to Alibi Idris versus Ode Osborne. And I was expecting Ode to come out looking a little different in this one, but I mean, he put up some good effort. Idris was just too much for him, I think. A mix of takedowns and top control throughout the entire fight just kept Osborne at bay, basically. Idris was basically working from dominant positions the whole time. Osborne would look like he was about to get something going, and Idris would shut it down quickly. Ode, like I said, he had some moments on his feet, and it looked like he was going to get something going, but he just couldn't. And while he didn't get completely beat up, I think he took enough damage and was just dominated pretty much throughout the whole fight. He never generated too much of anything to show any kind of a lean towards him for the judges. So Idris gets the win by unanimous decision, and he showed good all-around effort throughout the whole fight. Showed that he was a good all-around fighter too. So even in scrambles, he was able to get the best of Ode, and he got the clear decision. So it was a good fight for Idris, and that takes us over to the last fight on the prelims, and that was Carlos Leal versus Chidi Njokuani. Njokuani just looked absent kind of for this fight. I guess you could say that. Leal wins by unanimous decision. I wasn't really expecting that one, but one judge had all 3 rounds for him. The rest were 2-1. Chidi, I don't know, man. I haven't seen a whole lot come from Chidi in a while, and I feel like that's part of his problem, and that might be what gets him in trouble with trying to stay in the UFC, because that does make, let's see, that's 2 losses in a row for him. He was coming off a 3-fight win streak before those 2 losses, though, so they might see some value in him if he can turn it around. But I guarantee if he takes another fight and gets another loss, he's definitely out. But you never know these days with a fight like that, where he got submitted in his last fight as well. They might not see any value in keeping him. Think he might go back to middleweight. He might. That might make it a little bit better for him. I'm not sure, but Carlos Leal, I didn't think he was really gonna get this win. He was coming off a loss to Muslim Selikhov, first round TKO, 42 seconds in. So, but that's kind of the streak he's been on, win-loss. He won against Alex Morono in the first round, but lost to Hinat Fakhretdinov. But Chidi's in that same level as kind of Morono, Fakhretdinov and Selikhov are both higher level fighters, and it seems like that's who Leal has the most problems with. So for him to get the win over Chidi doesn't seem too outstanding. I mean, too outrageous. And basically, he just had more volume and more pressure over Njokuani. Chidi landed a couple flush punches here and there, but nothing that he could really put him away with. And while he stayed patient and tried to be efficient, you know, he just couldn't really get the control, and basically Leal just was able to edge him out in the cards, and one judge even gave him all 3 rounds. So I don't know that it was really that close, but I mean, good for Leal, and we'll see what Njokuani does coming back, or I should say if he comes back. So that brings us into the main card fights, and we start with Zachary Reese versus Michel Pereira. And for the first fight of the night on the main card, coming off of all those prelims, I guess it wasn't man, I don't know what to say really. It wasn't the worst, but it wasn't the best. I mean, it was a split decision win for Pereira. There was a lot of fouls like happening supposedly. As far as Pereira goes, I mean, there was a couple times the action got stopped because of low blows and an eye poke. It wasn't anything like really clear. It looked like he kind of got grazed, which I can't discount the pain for that. But, you know, even the way that he reacted, it was almost like, hey, I just, you know, what the fuck? Like, almost like he just wanted to make sure that somebody did something to Reese for it, and he never really got that. So I kind of feel like that he was just like, fuck this. If you're going to let him get away with it, I'm going to call out every single thing he does. I guess I can't blame him too much for that. But, yeah, I mean, it is what it is. They both looked a little bit tired at the end of the 3rd round, and you know, which isn't a big deal because at least they made it through, and it was just at the end there, but that could be a problem in the future for either one of them. But I mean, that's just one of the negatives. I don't know if they cut Reese. Let's see, I was gonna go look at him. I mean, he's 10-3 overall, so he can't be that bad in the UFC. He's 4-3 in the UFC. Okay, that's his 3 losses are there, but he was on a 2-fight win streak coming into this one, and a no contest in there. But he was on a 2-fight win streak, and his last fight he had a performance of the night bonus with the win over Jackson McVeigh by submission in the 2nd round. So I don't think they cut Reese. I don't not off of this. I mean, it was a decent fight, so I don't think they cut him off of this. I mean, I guess he kind of, I mean, he showed, it's not like this was completely one-sided at all, I don't think. I feel like I don't think there's any way they cut him. No. I'm just trying to think of any reason why they possibly could, but I don't see any reason why they would. So the crowd didn't seem to really like this fight very much, but I mean, it wasn't horrible, I would say. So that takes us over to Jacoby Smith versus Josiah Harrell. And man, what the fuck was going on with this fight? Because first of all, Jacoby Smith looked good in this fight, okay? There's no way around that. And so what we know about Harrell is the brain injury that he had, and you know, he had to have surgery and all that crazy shit. So some people would be like, why the fuck is he even fighting, right? But I mean, for him to come back from all that shows a lot of, you know, persistence and stuff. But I mean, it's a scary thing, especially when you see him come back and then he's involved in a fight like this where Jacoby Smith wins in the 1st round, 3 minutes in, inside control, just dropping bombs on Harrell's head. And it's just like, the ref goes to stop him and he still gets another 1 or 2 shots in there. The ref kind of fucking pushes him off. And while you can blame Jacoby Smith on that, like in the middle of something like that, it's hard to stop yourself. I can understand. And that's why the ref is there. But if you're not listening to the ref when he tells you to stop and you still get a couple in there, sure, it might be an accident, but damn, you got to watch yourself a little bit on that one, especially with somebody like Harrell. But you can't be responsible for someone else putting themselves in a situation like that. I mean, I think it was late too, but at the same time, I think Jacoby Smith like also didn't help by. I think it's more egregious that he kept punching. But again, he's in a high pressure situation where you kind of, that's what you're supposed to do. They say don't, but the ref stopped it. That's the thing. The ref did stop it and he kept going. So it's a little bit of both. I just think that was a dangerous situation. Even Dana White said that was a scary one, and that they were gonna watch him through the night because of the fact of his previous conditions and how brutal and crazy that finish was. So they were both 11-0 before coming into this fight, which was crazy. And Jacoby Smith has had 2 fights in the UFC already, and Harold was coming in as a GRP fight rules, automatic free hits and return power slap style. That's hilarious. But yeah, I mean, Harold was coming in for his UFC debut. So, but both 11-0. Like I said, the level of competition though in the UFC is different. And when you've already experienced that level, you kind of remember the guys you were fighting in the lower levels, and then you get a guy that's coming in his debut, and you might have a bit of confidence because you've been there and seen it at least a couple times, or maybe he's just a better fighter than Harold. I don't know, but I mean, Harold, he initiated some offense early, attempted a takedown and stuff, but Smith was just better in wrestling and stronger, and was able to reverse the position pretty quickly. And then he was able to just get control, and he dropping those nasty punches, man. It was scary knowing the condition of Harold, and the fact that it just kept going like it did was tough. So yeah, it's just a tough one. I hope Harold's okay. I haven't heard anything else about it, so hopefully he's good and nothing too crazy happens to him, any big effects from that. But it's a scary situation, especially coming off of what the type of health issues he had in the past. And yeah, hopefully he's all good and plays it safe and does what he needs to if he has some big problems coming from this. So good luck to him. But Jacoby Smith looked good in this fight, and now he's 3-0 in the UFC. So we'll see what comes up next for him. That brings us over to Sergey Spivak versus Ante Delija. Another great fight here, a bloody one at that. And while it went to a decision, it was definitely a fun fight to watch, with the back and forth of the big men coming out. Delija looked good at first. I mean, he looked sharp. He was landing good combinations. Even got a head kick in there. They both traded punches, and but Spivak's jab just came into play, and it just took a toll on Delija. Bloodied his nose up, as you can see in that left picture. I mean, he's bloody in the right picture as well, but that left picture says a whole lot more. Even though the punch from Spivak doesn't look great, just the blood coming from the mouth of Delija and showing the damage, it was crazy. So Spivak just caught a rhythm with that jab and was able to do a lot of damage with it, kind of similar to what happened with Strickland and Fluffy. So Strickland had that jab that was just super effective, and it did a lot of damage, and it won him the fight. But Delija in the second had some momentum and backed up Spivak against the cage, landed some heavy shots and stuff. He even wobbled him for a quick second, but it just wasn't, it just couldn't do the job in the end. He got into some clinches that then that it kind of let Spivak get time to rest with some of that clinch work that he probably shouldn't have engaged in. And that's part of what helped him lose the fight, I think. While a lot of the damage from Spivak and a lot of the volume punches that he put out there damaged Delija like they did, I think Delija just made a mistake, kind of like he did in his last fight. even though that was a controversial thing that happened in that last fight with the stoppage and the replay and all that shit, and then the restart of the fight. Delia just walks straight in with his chin up and gets knocked out. So it's one of those things. He makes these pivotal mistakes in the middle of his fights, regardless of the other circumstances, and it gets him to lose the fight. So Spivak was just closing the rounds with control and activity, and that kind of stuff wins the rounds at the end, especially if it's close. And while some of the striking was a bit slow and lacked urgency, it was still a decent fight and fun to watch, and it was a bloody one, and the big men threw a lot of punches. So sometimes that's all you need to have a entertaining fight. I wouldn't say it was the most entertaining, but it was definitely more entertaining than some of those prelim fights. So yeah, it was a couple rough outings for Spivak in his last few fights, but yeah, he comes out of this one with a win, and I think Delia needs to find that one thing to keep him from making the one mistake in fights that keep losing in fights. And while, like I said, that last one had that other stuff happen in the mix of things, it didn't help at all, and he was doing well in the fight before that. Besides, the eye poke thing, that fight's hard to talk about because of so many things that happened in it. But regardless, he lost that one. He loses this one. At least he didn't get knocked out this time. And we'll see what comes up next for him. And Spivak moves on with a win over a decent opponent. So that brings us over to Melquizael Costa versus Dan Ige. And I was not expecting this one to go this way, but I did kind of think that Costa would win. But Ige is a tough opponent. The biggest thing here is the fact that he's never been finished, and until this fight, and Melquizael Costa came out and was able to get a finish on him. Costa pretty much just showed some flashy striking, a lot of kicks that were landing. He was able to put a lot of pressure on Ige and allow him, to get a lot of big shots that landed, and be the first one to finish Dan Ige in a fight. And in the first round, he only had a couple seconds left in that first round, but he's able to get that win and get the finish. I mean, he pretty much dominated the striking, and those kicks just played a big part, keeping Ige on the outside and not allowing him to get his timing down and catch a rhythm and be able to get in on Costa. It just seemed like Costa just knew what was going to happen at all times and was able to just get things to land. And with those kicks, a couple spinning attacks were able to land on Ige. He gets that spinning side kick to land on Ige's head and drops him, and then he's able to finish him on the ground. So that extends Costa's win to 6 in a row in the UFC. And of course, he's looking to get a big fight now after this one. He definitely broke something for sure. That was wild. He should fight Pitbull next. Costa should fight Pitbull or Ige? No. I don't. Costa's looking for somebody bigger than Pitbull. That's for sure. Because Ige just fought Pitbull and lost, right? So, no. Costa's looking for high level. Pitbull is like not at that level, and he's not ranked, I don't think. And even if he is, he's probably not ranked that high. So Costa's definitely looking for he's definitely looking for something up there. I can't remember who he called out. Maybe Steve Garcia. That would be a fun fight, actually. But I think he called somebody out. I just don't remember who. So I'm not sure how high he's trying to climb quickly, but Steve Garcia would be a fun fight for him, for sure. All right, so that brings us to the co-main event. Uros Medic versus Jeff Neal. Holy shit, was this one crazy. Just to see Medic come out and knock Jeff Neal out once again. Back-to-back fights where he gets knocked out cold. He had that last fight where he got knocked out with the spinning back elbow. And now Medic comes in with a big left and knocks him out. It was a big left hook on the temple, as you can see in that left-hand picture. And I mean, as much as it sucks to show Jeff Neal laid out like this, I mean, this is a just a nasty picture. There's one other one too where you see like the legs of Jeff Neal, and across the way you see Medic doing the like crazy like weird poses he was doing. Oh man, I know Jeff Neal, just a couple of big knockout losses in a row is tough, man. Especially just getting knocked out cold like that was crazy. I mean, it was a striking battle to begin with, as it is. And there was some good exchanges in the beginning, but Medic just had speed and timing was really what he had the best of, and catching Neal off balance, able to land those big strikes quickly. And a minute and 19 seconds into the first round, he connects with that left hook on the temple and drops Neal, knocks him out cold, and you know, that was it. It was over. So it was a great win for Medic, and a quick, fun knockout that we got to see, you know, a nasty knockout. And yeah, those are the types of fights that people are excited about. So that's a good way to go into the main event with Sean Strickland versus Anthony Fluffy Hernandez. And so while this one, that elbow eradicated his chin, it's over. Oh shit. I mean, you might be right, man, especially when you come back right away getting knocked out like that. But there's a lot of guys in the past that have overcome stuff like that. But Jeff Neal, just, I don't know that he was really built for that kind of damage and able to come back from something like that. So it's going to be tough for him. That's for sure. I just hope he's okay. But as far as Strickland versus Fluffy goes, listen, I may not like Sean Strickland very much, but I gotta say that jab, it does seem like, you know, what everybody says about Sean Strickland is true. You know, the teep kick and the jab. Yeah, I don't know, man. That's kind of like Volkanovski coming back from the Makhachev knockout and then gets knocked out by Ilya. It's like, why do that so quickly? It doesn't make sense. But these guys just want to fight, so that's just what I guess those are the consequences sometimes. Kind of sucks. Yeah, for sure, Antoine. That's pretty much what I was getting at. Yep. But yeah, as much as I don't like Sean, what a lot of people say is true. The teep kick and the jab is like, it's almost like he's a one-trick pony, but it's effective, and he was sharp, and he was on top of his game. He came back with a vengeance, and he won the fight with that jab, with that teep kick, and then the knee to the body. I think the body shots are the kryptonite of Alexander Hernandez, unfortunately. It's not like he's built made of stone. He's got a soft midsection, it seems, you can tell, but that doesn't, I mean, he was on an 8-fight win streak, so we know he has skills, but it seems like he suffers with the body shots, and that was one of those RDR to Bo Nickel type body shots that Sean Strickland delivered to Fluffy, and Fluffy, it affected him quite enough to get him, to lose that fight in the third round by TKO. And Fluffy had some he had some good moments. He was able to land some decent shots on Strickland, but Strickland was just able to keep him off of his timing, off of his balance, and off of his rhythm to be able to put anything together. He stuffed his takedowns. He didn't allow him to control him against the cage. He took, anytime Fluffy pressed him against the cage, he would turn it around and put Fluffy on the cage. So he was just stronger. He dominated with the exchanges and grappling, and he controlled the striking. So that's going to win you those fights. And with Fluffy being more of a ground control and wrestling, he knows he could take people down and then finish them on the ground or stuff like that. He just wasn't able to do it with Strickland, and it seemed like everything he tried, everything he's confident in, didn't work with Strickland. Strickland was on his game this night, and he didn't allow anything to get in the way. That jab was strong, it was effective, it was precise, and his his teep kick worked as it always does, and then he got those knees going, and he recognized the the weakness in the body, and he took it to the body, and he made it work for him. So as much as I don't like Sean Strickland and I hate the fucking things that he says, because I feel like part of it is because he just has a mental issue that he can't overcome. He was so hurt as a child that it affects his day-to-day thought process. And I understand that people have hard childhoods or whatnot, but when it comes down to it, it's up to you to overcome all that shit and stop acting like the world is the person that hurt you. And so I don't feel like you need to be as harsh to everybody as this guy seems to be to everything and everyone. He takes everything to the fullest extent that it needs to be, that he feels it needs to be taken, and it's actually not necessary at all. And a lot of the things he talks about has nothing to do with fighting, so he needs to just learn how to shut the fuck up. They cut his mic off because he couldn't shut the fuck up with the dumb shit he says. You can talk a lot of shit about somebody, you don't have to talk the kind of shit that he talks. And you know, Dana White talks about the free speech thing, and I totally understand that, but sometimes there's a limit to what people can take. And I think that you know, some people, you might run into the wrong guy that decides to come into a press conference with a weapon and take some action against someone like Sean Strickland. And I would hate to see that happen in any of these events to any of these fighters. But I feel like you get to a certain point where some stuff's gonna happen in the streets that you know, look at the level that Conor took it to, throwing things through windows and trying to, you know, have an entire mob of people take over a bus. Like, isn't that far enough? No punishment's gonna happen. I highly doubt it. The only way it happens is if Paramount Plus pushes for it, and that might be the only way something happens. And that might not be out of the realm of possibilities, considering the fact that they cut the mic, and that's something we didn't think we'd ever see or hear happen. We don't know for sure. Is that a Paramount thing, or is that something the UFC is like, okay, enough's enough, we're sick of dealing with this? Hunter Campbell is the one that seemingly calls the shots at this point, and he is a lawyer by trade first, so maybe he sees the detriment of what could, you know, that can be caused to for letting somebody like this continue on with the just shit that he spews. The only problem is, you know, on the flip side, you see him say, you know, apologize to Fluffy for his daughter thinking that he flipped her off specifically, and her thinking that he's a racist and hates Mexicans. He says that he would hate for that to happen. He says that Fluffy's the type of man he wants to be and have a wife and kids, a family, and provide for them and stuff like that. But you know, when he spews all this other bullshit, and you kind of forget about those things, because it's just like, dude, your hatred is so for everything and everyone is so much harsher than your passion to become a good person and be a decent human being, as Fluffy is, the way that you explained it. So for me, you know, if you want to be that person, there's sacrifice in everything. Sacrifice to being a family man means you can't do everything you think you want to do at every point in time. You have to think about the betterment of your family and your morals, and the fact that you're going to be bringing a child into this world and that they're going to learn from you. You want to continue this bullshit babble that you do, that really just hurts people and doesn't make anything better. While he comes up with some decent points about certain things at times, the conspiracy bullshit, the fucking hatred for people that he spews, and his just denial of anything but what he thinks is to be true and real, you know, is just disgusting at times. So I get to the point where I just can't handle it anymore, and that's why I just can't stand Sean Strickland, which is more of an emphasis on why I couldn't go up and, you know, even deal with the issue of meeting him or having to surpass him. So your gentleness shall force more than your force move us to gentleness. Shakespeare, man. Shit, you know, it's just, I don't know, he gets his rocks off by spewing all this bullshit. And I just don't understand why he seems to think that, you know, that's gonna do something good for him, or that's gonna get through anybody's head. I don't know. Everybody has their own thing and wants to feel how they feel and express how they feel, but I don't know that it's really effective to any certain extent. And while as polarizing as he is, might help him with popularity for people to want to see him get knocked out or want to see bad things happen to him in the cage. You know, I don't know that that's the right way to go about it. And it's just crazy, man. There's a lot of guys writing for Sean. There's a lot of guys that won't, never mind. And I get it, his fans aren't good guys. that's not 100% true. I think his fans like the craziness that he brings, the unpredictable shit that might actually, he's pretty predictable. It's pretty predictable what you're going to hear out of him. The bullshit that he spews out of his mouth is the same shit that he says over and over and over again. He just takes different paths to get there. It's the same point over and over and over again. He's weak in his he's a weak man in his mental state because of what happened to him as a child, so he can't accept anybody that's different than him, and that's fine. But if you can't let it go, that you shouldn't make the world suffer because of that. And you're on a worldwide stage where you think you can just just puke out the horrid shit that you say and think that it's all good. I think you need therapy. I think you need to fucking get right with yourself at some point in time, instead of continuing on this path. But if you're doing it for the money, karma's gonna come back to you, bro. There's flashes of good in Sean Strickland, and he showed both sides. He showed the disgusting nature of his thought process, as well as the want and need to be a decent human being. We saw both sides of the spectrum with Sean, and that's what makes it more confusing to wonder how you should feel about him. What up, Magics? 78 Northwest, thank you for jumping in. Even if you are late, no big deal. I appreciate you. Been listening for the last half hour. Really appreciate your insight and your kind understanding of the Strickland situation. Your explanation helped me. Oh, hey, I appreciate you, 78 Northwest, and thanks for jumping in. And yeah, I'm glad that it makes sense, and it helps you understand any part of it. I don't know, man. Strickland is one of those guys that just gets me angry, but also makes me think about a lot of things, and I just have thoughts about it. So you know what? When it comes down to it, he can spew his disgusting bullshit, vile, state of mind to everyone, but I'm gonna say what I think I say too, and I feel like, if anything, what's up, Tommy? Do you think they'll ever pull Sean in the back and try to silence him? I'm sure he got some kind of talking to, especially with the way he reacted. If you saw the clip of what was said after the mic was cut off, he's talking about, oh, you hold the fuck on, you UFC motherfucker. Like, they might have a problem with that. I don't know though. Sean Strickland is at the top of his game at the moment, and I don't know that they're really gonna. I don't think Dana's going to allow them to reprimand him too harshly for just something that he says, because that's the stance he's held for a long time. But PVG, what's up? Thanks for jumping in. What did he say in particular that made you very upset? Oh man, dude, listen, it's everything. And a lot of people might not have the same issue I have with some of the things that he says. But in particular, like I said, I think that what happened to him as a child makes him hate gay people. And I think that that's because he struggles with the fact of what happened to him in the past might have an effect on him now. And that scares him. So for him to even think about something different than what he wants to be portrayed as makes him hateful, and makes him a person that wants to spew that hate for the type of people that scare him. So, and I think it scares him because he might be unsure about the things that happened to him in the past. And I'm not talking shit. I'm talking straight up, like, when it comes down to actual trauma, and the things that those types of situations make you feel when you grow up and in the future, especially if you've never fully dealt with it. I think he's more worried. He has such a problem with gay people and whatever, And for me, that's personal. I have you know, someone in my family that I care about a lot that is gay. So for you to think that they just need to be wiped off this planet is disgusting. And I think that I would never let that happen to the person I love. So yeah, you can think what you want, but I understand that everything in every aspect and form gets taken too far with a lot of thoughts and morals and fucking ways of life that this world has to offer. But you know, I just don't believe that every single person under that banner is bad. And you know, if any, I understand that some people take things too far and you can have a adverse reaction to that. But I think Sean Strickland is more scared of what is a possibility for him than he is of the way that these people live their lives. So, you know, and that I got deeper in that than I wanted to. Listen, it's just a lot of times I'll just say, fuck this guy, fuck that guy, this guy's a fucking idiot and stuff. But yeah, I've been thinking about that one since I heard him spew all this bullshit, and you can think it's funny or whatever, and that's fine. If you truly believe that everything he says is, you know, word is born, true, raised, fucking word to your mother type shit, fuck off. I mean, honestly. And if you just find it funny and it's surface level funny to you, whatever, I get it. But if you truly feel the way he feels, I mean, fuck off. That's all I can really say. I don't like you. But it is what it is. Everybody can have their opinion, whatever. So anyway, moving on. Just so you know, went 3-3 with the fight wheel predictions. We got Fluffy wrong, Medic was correct, Reese was wrong, Costa correct, Delia wrong, Smith correct. So nah, man, that was great. What do you think happens with him, like, in the future? Like, will he ever be champ again? If he keeps fighting like he does, he's gonna find somebody that can stop that, but maybe not as quickly, or you know, maybe not in the next couple fights. So maybe he has a chance to become champ again. But can he beat Hamzat with all this hate that he spews at him? I don't know. I don't know if he can stop Hamzat with the two things that he knows how to do well, and with the more things that Hamzat can do. Hamzat beat DDP, who beat Strickland twice. That's MMA math, I get that, but there's still something to it. So I don't know. I don't know if he can become champ again. I just know that I don't want to deal with him being champ again. So I hope not. And for that reason alone. Other than that, we went 3-3 with the fight wheel predictions, and man, I got deep. So I'm a little bit I'm a little bit at the point where I'm glad I'm done. So I appreciate everybody for jumping in. I appreciate all the interaction. If you're new here, please consider subscribing. If not, at least like this video. Make sure everyone else, you guys, like this video as well. I'd appreciate that. It helps the channel. And you know, I hate asking for things, but that's the least thing that I can ask for, is for a like on the video. Share it with somebody. If you're watching this later, drop a comment below about any of the topics that were discussed, and let me know what you think. Let me know what your opinion is on any of it. Again, thank you all is good for being here as well. Thanks to everybody else in the chat for the interactions and the great you know, the great thought-provoking questions. I appreciate that for sure. Thanks, man. Thanks, Antoine, always, for, you know, keeping it going. And as far as I go, I'm gonna the next show will be Wednesday. I will be previewing the next week's event, UFC Mexico. They'll be having that event next weekend, and I have to do the show on Wednesday. So come back on Wednesday for a preview of UFC Mexico City, happening next weekend. Brendan Moreno versus Loner Kavanaugh. That's going to be happening next Saturday. I'll be here on Wednesday because I have something going on Thursday, and I want to make sure I do the show live. So come back then for the preview of UFC Mexico. That's it for me. 78 Northwest, I appreciate you. That's it for me. I'm out of here. Take it easy. Peace.